A couple more questions actually before we go in, actually, because I would love to finish on a positive note. Is some people obviously in life find things hard to do, sometimes saying no to things is too much for them, or sometimes feeling lost in life, not knowing what to do. So for you guys, because you see that you're doing so well and you found what you love, for those that maybe don't always know what to do with life, if they're quite young or a bit older in life now, what would be some of the best advices you could give to them, whether it's taking extra time to find out what's good for you or anything else? I want to start with Diamond, actually. What would be some of the best piece of advice you could give to people to try and find out who they are?
Um, yeah, so this is actually something I'm very passionate about, and I work with young people on it to try and get them to understand who they are before they go to university. So you're not doing self-discovery whilst at work because that's not gonna help. And so one thing I realized for myself, I feel like the university experience really does facilitate self-discovery. Unfortunately, it comes with you having to make a decision about what you want to pursue before you can experience it. I don't know if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
obviously, if you now come, you've realized you've moved out, and then you realize, oh my God, I don't like this course. There's that panic that comes in, and you're like, oh my God, I have to start again. Will students find it accept me? All of those kind of things. So I do feel like university does accommodate it. But what I do tell my students now, and I'm sure they're really tired of me, I always tell them, go and do stuff in the summer. Do activities. I'm like, miss, I like being at home. No, do activities, go out. And they're like, but why? I said, listen, when I was your age, and I keep telling them I'm not even far away from you guys, I literally did every and any opportunity available. When I was in A level sixth form, I did so many opportunities that were so off the radar. Like I did a what's that thing called? A accounting course, like an accounting internship, financial services internship, a law one. I went on a residential for English literature. Like they don't make sense. Do
Hmm.
you see what I mean? If I'm
Yeah.
being honest, they're not even interlinked at all. But I tried everything and anything because the majority of them were free. And even if they weren't free, it wasn't that much an additional cost. And it's just like it gave me a feel of what I wanted to do. So by the time it came to go to university, though I was still a bit clueless, I wasn't as clueless as some of my friends who just kind of just used one of their A level subjects and said, okay, I'm going to go to uni with this, and realized that actually they don't really like A level geography, degree level geography, but they liked our A level. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and so that gave me a bit more scope. So that's why I always tell people explore now, explore once you can, and preferably like in the year 12 area so that it doesn't affect your year 13. That's the time to just go around and do everything and anything. And if you can get a part-time job as well, that also helps because I think you mentioned earlier about learning how to say no. That's one of the biggest lessons
Mm.
that anybody can learn. Having a firm stand on your integrity, it's not an easy thing to go by. Even when I started working the apprenticeship, I don't think anyone took advantage of me though. But I feel like um, I had to learn it, otherwise I would have been taken advantage of. Because obviously you're fresh blood, you want to work, you're eager, you kind of want to impress people at the same time, and you just say yes to everything, and then you come and find yourself overloaded with work and not able to fit to do any to a quality standard. And that's not the impression you want to make on any employer, especially if it's your first, because that kind of sets pace for the references and stuff that you receive in the long term. So I think mainly is do everything, any opportunity that comes your way, that's obviously within morals, like
Yeah,
not
of
to point
course.
you but within the moral compass, and you don't mind giving it a try, then go for it, and you're able to discover so much, even as far as your character. Like I learned that I really like water activities because I went on a residential. I like water
Yeah.
activities. Do you see what I mean?
Love
So
it.
something as simple as that can even be used as a conversational starter for networking and all of these things, so that you're not just bringing academic academia to the plate. Neither are you just bringing social skills to the plate, but you've got a mix. If that makes sense.
Of course. I absolutely love that. It's such a brilliant answer because I feel that's the same thing actually. When you experience life more, it's such a even that's like simple like a great conversation stuff. Like I did this earlier or a couple of years ago, and then you can start talking a lot more and you get to know more about that person. They get to know about you as well, and the kind of person and
Yeah,
character you are as well. So I love that. And then you get to learn, and even doing the podcast now, I'm getting to learn about so many different people from their backgrounds and what they had to get through in order to get to where they are in life. So it's amazing. I absolutely love that. And it's actually perfect time because we're actually about to run out now. But Sorcha, how about you actually? What would be some of the best list or best piece of advice you give to people?
So from a perspective of just finishing university, there can feel like there's a lot of pressure to launch straight into the workplace. So almost like we all have this structure to our lives, that we have school, something in the middle, then we all find a career, and we have to establish ourselves and know which direction we're taking. I think coming from university as well, where it's very competitive and everyone wants to be the best, there's no need to listen to that kind of pressure or to give into that pressure. To remind yourself you are quite young and you have lots of avenues to explore. And actually, I learned this myself, that I have so much time.
Yeah.
And I can sort of take, I mean, doing what I do with the FED, I love doing it. And I found that because I was taking my time and not rushing into anything. So yeah, that's my advice. Take your time and you'll find what suits you.
I absolutely love that. And for you, Penelope, as well?
I think coming from the perspective of somebody who is very indecisive, I second guess every decision that I make. But one of the things that, similar to what Diamond says, you know, you're not gonna there's this kind of like movie like romanticization of life, where you think, where, you know, we get told from a young age, the minute you find a job, the way you'll just know if it's a dream one for you. When I started volunteering, you know, I was 5 years old. And I just did it because I thought it was fun. And without that, I would not be doing a law degree. So the biggest thing that I can say is that, of course, you know, you have to think practically about, you know, living expenses and things. But in terms of how you know whether something is right for you, unfortunately, you won't. The best piece of advice that I can give is just just try and do something that you enjoy, that makes you have fun, that brings you, you know, a sense of fulfillment in some way. It doesn't have to be like this monumental kind of lifetime achievement award at 24 like you see on LinkedIn. It just has to be something that you enjoy. And if you stop enjoying it, then change. You know, there's no one concrete thing that you have to do with a degree. You know, I know people with, you know, law degrees, the same one that I'm on now, who've taken completely different career paths. And that doesn't mean, you know, that they've wasted, you know, 3 years getting an LLB, because they've learned things, they've learned transferable skills. So just do what you think is fun, but also pay attention to what you're learning in class, even if you don't think it will be useful. Because inevitably, even if the actual content isn't, you'll have learned resilience, you'll have learned, you know, your tolerance level for certain topics. You'll have a vague gauge of, you know, what suits you and what doesn't.
I absolutely love that. Love that.